connecting Central Texas. This is Good Morning Texas.
Good morning to you. I'm Joey Horta. Thank you for waking up with us here on this Tuesday. A lot of people heading back to work today for the first time after that 3-day weekend. Josh Johns is here with a check on the forecast if you're one of those folks heading out the door.
Yeah, and if you are one of those folks heading out the door, you will need the jacket for the first part of the day. Temperatures that are in the upper 40s. We will also have to watch for a little bit of fog, especially if you're traveling south towards the Brazos Valley or towards Houston. That's where we are seeing some dense fog at times this morning. Dense fog advisory runs until 10 o'clock for those counties. Now, planning out the rest of your day, we start off here near 50. We're in the mid-70s by lunchtime and lower 80s this afternoon. So if you do grab a jacket walking out the door this morning, you might want to wear short sleeves under it. The warm conditions hang around through this afternoon. Now I'm tracking another cold front arriving overnight, bringing a rain chance and some cooler temperatures. That 10-day forecast is coming up.
Josh, thanks. New concerns this morning on Capitol Hill as investigations continue into the use of classified documents by President Biden and former President Trump. The debt ceiling also prompting concerns. At 25 News Washington correspondent Joe St. George is there live. Joe, good morning. And what are the differences here between the investigations into President Biden and former President Trump's use of those documents, and how are they similar?
Yeah, good morning, Joey. You know, first and foremost, I think it's important to remember that we're likely at the beginning of this investigation as opposed to the end. There's a special counsel involved that can sometimes be frustrating to journalists that we don't get as much information as we would like right away because there remains a lot of unanswered questions here. Why was there this delay between finding the documents in November and obviously this coming to public light in January? What were in the documents? Who had access to the areas where these documents were the last several years? We learned in the last 24 hours the Secret Service does not keep logs of President Joe Biden's personal home in Delaware. The White House says that's a private residence. That's not required by law, unlike the White House, which keeps pretty detailed records. You mentioned key differences here. I think we could pop up on screen if we haven't yet. Some of the differences here between former President Trump and Joe Biden. And first off, there's a lot of similarities. We're dealing with two presidents now who are being looked into by special counsels for possible violations of the Presidential Records Act, which is the federal law that says the records of administrations need to be handed over and done so carefully when a president leaves office. The National Archives is charged with keeping those records. But there is a difference here that the White House says is key when everyone is reporting on this. And they say that they were cooperating right away as soon as they realized that there was an error with this classified document, that they contacted the National Archives as opposed to the Trump situation in which the National Archives, based on legal documents, had to repeatedly contact former President Trump. That's a key difference, they say, and certainly shows a level of cooperation. Conservatives in Texas and elsewhere, certainly if you listen to talk radio, they say a big difference is the FBI and the fact that the FBI raided former President Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, and there's been yet to be a large-scale search of a Biden property like that by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So get ready, Joey. We're at the beginning of this. It's going to be several weeks and months of this. It's starting to feel like a big political issue, kind of akin to the Hillary Clinton emails, if you can remember, from several years back.
Oh, yeah. Everybody remembers. And, you know, the U.S. expected also to reach the debt limit Thursday, Joe, sparking concerns among economists. But why is it such a concern? And what does that mean for us here at home?
Well, this could impact family finances. It could impact our country's economy. In a year in which a lot of CEOs on Wall Street are expecting a recession or a mild recession at the very least, we could put on screen some key dates. This Thursday is when the U.S. will reach its debt limit, its debt ceiling, but there's going to be no default this week. That's because the Treasury Department has said they're going to deploy extraordinary measures to keep the U.S. paying our bills, paying out benefits until sometime mid this year. We think it'll be before June, perhaps sometime in June. That date has yet to be determined. But that's key because the U.S. has, never defaulted on our debt. We've never not raised the debt ceiling. But there remains looming questions here in Washington of just how serious this debate's going to be this time. That's because Speaker McCarthy, in order to become Speaker, made some pretty key concessions to conservatives about spending cuts in order to raise the debt ceiling one more time. Democrats are already saying, we're not going to put any spending cuts on the table because our national debt is a bipartisan problem, and we should deal with this issue in a bipartisan way. If the U.S. surpasses its debt limit, its debt ceiling, you're talking about impacts on military pay, impacts on Social Security benefits potentially. There's a lot to do here, and certainly it's going to rattle the markets in what's expected to be a pretty unique year, to say the least. So get ready. We have a political debate unfolding over classified documents, and we have an emerging economic policy debate that could certainly impact our economy later this year. We're going to be chatting about this issue for several mornings to come, Joey.
All right, so much going on there. We know you'll stay on top of it, Joe. Thanks. Joe St. George live from the Capitol Rotunda this morning in Washington. Meanwhile, today, Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick will be sworn in on the steps of the state capitol. After a prayer service, the two leaders will take the oath of office at 11 a.m. DPS says there will be an FAA temporary flight restriction in place within a half-mile radius of the Capitol building during that swearing in. A Taste of Texas and a celebration of Texas will take place at the Moody Theater later tonight. DPS opening applications now for those who want to sell pot. Right now, only medical marijuana is legal in Texas. There are only 3 marijuana dispensaries in the entire Lone Star State. The shooting death of an 11-year-old boy now at an apartment complex in Dallas is under investigation. Police have a teen girl in custody for Sunday's murder. Investigators say the victim, De'Evan McFall, was just an innocent bystander. Police say the boy was in the wrong place at the wrong time when a couple of girls got into a heated fight. Eyewitnesses say one of the girls ran to get a gun. The 14-year-old girl fired several shots, police say, and then took off running. That boy died in the hospital.
Please, people, stop killing each other. I never thought I would be standing here doing this for one of my babies.
It's not clear whether the girl, where she got the gun, that is, but investigators do have it this morning. Now to a big discovery at the San Antonio International Airport. Take a look at this. The airport says TSA agents found an anti-tank gun inside a checked bag. The owner didn't declare the weapon. TSA says that gun owners are allowed to travel with their unloaded and locked weapons inside of a hard-sided container, but those weapons have got to be declared. Recovery efforts are ongoing today in Nepal. In 10 minutes, the latest on the investigation and what first responders have recovered from the wreckage. But first, the Salvation Army fighting food insecurity in Bell County. We'll take you there live to find out what you can do to lend a helping hand to those in need. .610 now. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to get a check on the weather for you. I did have a light jacket on this morning. Heads up for you.
Not a bad idea, but I hope you wore short sleeves under that because as we've seen so far this January.
No. Look what I have.
Yeah. I mean, same here, but that's because we're on air.
Yeah.
If you weren't, I'd say
It depends on where you were. I mean, if you're out, working on something outside, yes.
Yes.
Short sleeves must today.
Yes.
You got it.
If your AC is acting really cold in the office, then don't listen to me at all. I'll tell you that right now. Let's talk about the warm air that's been hanging around, though. It's going to be warm again today, and this continues a stretch that we've seen here this January. In fact, Joey, just crunching the numbers here about 5 minutes ago. Look at this. We're ranking number 4 right now for the hottest first half of January. If you take that away and you average it over 30 days, and remember, we have about 15 days left, so far we're running with the hottest month of January here in Central Texas on record. So we'll see if that continues. Right now I do have a cool down coming in that should chip away at that, but it's very possible we finish the top 10 at least here in Central Texas. Upper 40s out there currently as you're looking outside, 51 in Marlin, 49 in Temple, and 63 currently in Killeen. That's where we start the day. Expect temperatures to warm quickly though, 64 by 10 o'clock, mid-70s by noon, and late this afternoon we'll be heading towards 80. So we'll rack that number even higher after today. Future Track shows you we'll have that cloud cover trying to burn off this afternoon. I think it's underdoing the moisture though, so likely have a few more clouds than what you see on there. And then as we go through the overnight hours, cloud cover builds in again. We'll see a couple of showers out there. This is before a Pacific front comes in, and along that front we could have a couple of isolated thunderstorms within that as well. Again, this is morning activity. Clears out by afternoon. Westerly winds come in. That means drier air, so the mornings will be cooler. The afternoons will still be rather warm though. In fact, Won't see temperatures go back below normal until we head into this weekend. So we'll stay in the 70s today, 60s tomorrow, or Thursday rather, 64 on Friday, mid-50s with another cold front on Saturday, and after that we enter a more steady normal pattern with temperatures in the 50s and the 60s next week.
All right, Josh, thank you. Happening today, the Salvation Army of Bell County is distributing food to the less fortunate. They do this every month, but the volunteers need your support to keep this program running. 25 News reporter Nakia Simon live in Killeen with how you can help. Good morning.
Good morning, Joey. That's correct. I had to put my jacket back on because it's a little chilly outside. So if you're heading out to Killeen at the Killeen Community Clinic for the food distribution event, you probably need that coat as well. But they're trying to continue this program for the community because right here in downtown Killeen, there's a food desert. That is where they're between a mile and more radius. People don't have access to nutritious food with no local grocery stores nearby for residents in downtown Killeen. Due to inflation and supply chain shortages, the Salvation Army of Bell County is seeing less donations and supplies. Captain Don Beckham is now asking the community for donations to put food on the table for families.
People just aren't giving as much as they typically do in those holiday seasons. So now, just as many people are suffering from food insecurities. So we still need to give people, the food that they need for once a month. And so we are looking for more food donations for sure. We still have issues with getting enough food for distribution.
Despite the difficulties they are facing, the Salvation Army of Bell County will have its monthly food distribution in Killeen this morning at the Greater Killeen Community Clinic. It will begin today at 9 a.m. until noon or until all the food is distributed. Again, the food distribution begins at 9 a.m., but cars begins to line up as soon as 7 a.m. sometimes because the need is so great here in Killeen. Coming up on Good Morning Texas, we'll share more about how you can help families in this area. Back to you, Joey.
All right, Nakia, thank you. And just ahead in your top stories, recovery efforts are underway today in Nepal. What's complicating those efforts for first responders after that deadly plane crash? It's 6:15. This is Good Morning Texas. .18 now. These are the top stories we're following. Investigators recovering another body from the site of a deadly plane crash in Nepal. Recovery efforts are moving at a snail's pace as crews are searching through a 1,000-foot gorge. 2 people still missing. They are presumed dead. Police in California now looking for at least 2 suspects in a shooting that killed 6 people. The victims include a 17-year-old and a 6-month-old baby. Police say the victims were targeted and their deaths were meant to send a message. Also in California, forecasters keeping an eye on another possible storm. It would be a 10th atmospheric river that could hit the northern part of the state tomorrow. Expected to only bring light rain, but you see the flooding mess that they're dealing with. So many people have lost so much. I have some friends who had 3 feet of standing water in their home, Josh. It's gone down, but now they're ripping out the drywall and all that. It's just big mess that some folks are dealing with. We don't have none of those problems here today.
No, we don't have any of those problems here today, thankfully. Though, of course, we keep those folks in our thoughts out in California. It would be nice to get some of the rain they are seeing, though, just not in that same amount. We do need the rain. Thankfully, I do have some rain chances on the way, just not today. Today is dry. We are watching fog across our southeastern counties. That'll burn off here by around 9, 10 o'clock. That's why a dense fog advisory continues for the Brazos Valley. And if you're heading down towards Houston, you'll encounter that. Mid-60s here at 10 o'clock, 74 by noon, lower 80s. Later on this afternoon, as we do top out close to 80, could very well break the record of 79 back in 1907 as this warm January continues. Again, setting up to be one of the top 10 warmest Januaries on record, it looks like. And we'll have a little bit of a cool down on the way, though. We'll break that down the 10-day coming up.
All righty, Josh, and the miracle on Monday night, the Dallas Cowboys giving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a run for their money. They've now moved on to the next round of playoffs, but how long can their good luck last? We're going to talk about that next. A new trailer for the 3rd season of The Mandalorian is out. Take a look.
Our people are scattered. like stars in the galaxy. What are we? What do we stand for?
This season picks up after the series called The Book of Boba Fett. For the new season, The Mandalorian and Grogu, aka Baby Yoda, are off for a new adventure. Season 3 hits Disney Plus on March 1st. The Dallas Cowboys making history in last night's NFC wildcard matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, beating Tom Brady for the first time ever, and Dak Prescott threw 4 touchdowns, ran for another to lead the Cowboys to a 31-14 victory over the Buccaneers. Cowboys kicker Brett Maher missed 4 straight extra points, including 3 in the first half, but they still led the Buccaneers at halftime 18-zip. Dallas beat Brady for the first time, and it's the first win in the postseason on the road in 30 years.
I'm confident in the guys that I've got, this group that we have, and what we're capable of doing. So it's going to be important for us to have a great week of preparation and just get ready for it.
Cowboys take on the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday in the playoffs. And I know you walked in with a smile as a result.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, everybody's happy. All right, let's give away a mug.
Yeah, let's do it. And some big winners. Today's winner is Lily Bonkowski. Congratulations, Lily. We'll let you know how you can pick up your Good Morning Texas mug.
If you want one, just go to our website. It's kxxv.com/contest. Click the mug, give us your email address, and we just give them away every day. All you have to do is watch to be a winner. All right, we saw Nakia a moment ago. She said she had to put on her jacket because she's out there and it's getting a little cooler. What's up?
A little cool out there this morning. You won't notice it this afternoon, though. Some big changes on the way with warmer temperatures working in once again. But as you're waking up this morning, yeah, you may need that jacket. Lower 50s out there currently in Killeen. The view on the Clark Roofing Cam at I-14 looking smooth this morning. 49, Waco 49 in Temple. And as we plan out your Tuesday, that's where we start the day. We're back in the mid-60s by 10 o'clock and closer to the 80s this afternoon. Future Track will show you that west wind coming in behind a little bit of a dry line this afternoon, pushing us into the 70s and 80s, and then the south winds take over again tonight. That ushers in the moisture. We'll have a couple of showers out there overnight into the morning hours, so plan on a little areas of rain as we get up in the morning tomorrow. You might want to give yourself some extra time on that morning commute, maybe a thunderstorm or 2 with that, but overall the chance of rain only about 40%. We'll keep westerly winds behind that. That means the cedar will be high. It'll also push us in to the 70s tomorrow. A little bit of a cool down on the way. We do have another cold front this weekend, though, and that one has more bite to it.
All right. Thank you, sir. It is almost 6:30. We're coming back with more local news in just a moment.
Connecting Central Texas. This is Good Morning Texas.
Good morning to you, and thank you for waking up with us. I'm Joey Horta. So glad you're with us today, and Josh is back with a check on the weather right now. How's it going?
Well, it's not going too bad, Joey. We have temperatures that are a little cool out there this morning. You'll need the light jacket walking out the door, but wear short sleeves under it because we are talking about temperatures that are climbing to the 80s again. There's the view now on the Clark Roofing Cam in South Waco. Live radar network quiet this morning, though there is a band of clouds moving over. That's keeping temperatures from being too chilly. It's also stopping us from being stuck in the fog that we see across the Brazos Valley. That is what we'll be dealing with for the first part of the day. I do think we'll see partly cloudy to partly sunny skies this afternoon as temperatures climb close to 80. And we're going to continue this stretch of warm days, honestly, through tomorrow. Another cold front comes in. We'll break it down for you coming up.
This work is hard and the issues are bigger than any one organization and they are a marathon, but women are capable, women are smart, women also can't do it alone.
January's Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and a Waco group is taking action for this. In-depth reporter Alicia Desperado explains how they're trying to put an end to human trafficking.
What we didn't know then that we know now is that we would be fighting the issues such as human trafficking, prostitution, and all the things that are attached to those issues.
Emily Mills founded the Waco-based group Jesus Said Love in 2004.
We would go into the clubs to women who were on the front lines of selling sex to customers, and we would engage them with simple gift bags. Our job was never to fix, control, or save, but simply live out the reality that we are all loved.
What started as simply spreading love led to something much more serious.
What we encountered was this reality that some women who were there Their money was being controlled by a third party. Their boyfriend was demanding that they work at the club in order to have a place to sleep at night.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security defines human trafficking as the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act, a situation many of the women Mills encountered were facing.
Human trafficking can happen anywhere, and it does happen anywhere.
You know, it's definitely something people need to be mindful of because it doesn't happen and it happens in our area as well.
Each situation can look different, and it's not always how you would expect. Movies often depict trafficking as children being kidnapped and sold by strangers. According to information by the Human Trafficking Hotline, nearly 90% of victims are recruited by people they know. 33% are trafficked by family members, 28% by an intimate partner, and 22% by an employer. According to that hotline, Texas has the 9th highest rate of trafficking in the country.
We see it every community, every socioeconomic bracket. No one is immune, and everyone has to keep their eyes open because that's the only way we can get ahead of this.
The thing that I'm struck by in our work over and over again is that personal relationships matter.
While anyone can fall victim to trafficking, people without a strong support system around them are among the most vulnerable.
Anyone who doesn't have that healthy, attached, safe family of origin is going to be more at risk. However, you can have a perfect kid who's making perfect straight A's on the swim team, and if they don't feel attached to their well-off family, they can be lured easily away as well.
Groups like Jesus Said Love and their company Lovely are aimed at helping survivors of human trafficking get back on their feet.
This building really is an opportunity to do our Access program, which is job training. Lovely provides livable wage jobs and gives microloans to survivors. And then we provide long-term direct services to survivors that we meet.
And while they can help people rebuild their life, they say it's on everyone to help put an end to trafficking in the area.
I think that we learned pretty early on that we weren't going to solve the issue of human trafficking, of sex buying, of prostitution. We weren't going to solve that on our own.
Alicia Nespreto reporting. Well, experts say that anyone can fall victim. About 22% of labor trafficking victims, though, are female, 48% are male. 79% of trafficking victims are female, about 7% are male, and at least 30% fall victim as minors. This morning, Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick will be sworn in on the state capitol steps. After a prayer service, two leaders will take the oath of office at 11 a.m. DPS says there will be an FAA temporary flight restriction in place within a half-mile radius of the state capitol during the swearing-in ceremony. A Taste of Texas and a Celebration of Texas will take place at the Moody Theater tonight. DPS opening applications for anyone who wants to sell pot. Right now, medical marijuana is legal in Texas, but not recreational. There are only 3 marijuana dispensaries in the entire state. A teenage girl is in custody now in North Texas after a fight ends with bullets flying. A young boy killed in the crossfire. Demond Fernandez has the latest.
Protect your babies at all costs. You can't get them back. I will never see my son again.
It's been an emotional day for the family of DeEvan McFall, gathering outside the Signature at Southern Oaks Apartments on Monday, one day after the 11-year-old boy was shot and killed.
Please, people, stop killing each other. I never thought I would be standing here doing this for one of my babies.
Witnesses say the boy was an innocent bystander. He was in the area when police say a couple of teenage girls got into a heated fight.
He was just standing there.
As the fight escalated, neighbors say one of the girls ran to get a gun and fired. Police say that 14-year-old girl shot DeEvan and ran from the scene.
It's heartbreaking to see a child laying on the ground in a pool of blood, just lifeless, just laying there.
This tragedy has community members raising many questions, mainly about youth access to guns. Police haven't yet confirmed where the weapon came from, but say they've recovered the gun and arrested the child who they believe killed DeEvan.
I mean, to lose his life, he was just 14, he ain't begun to live.
Some neighbors in this apartment complex say fights among the youth happen often, and they want responsible adults to get involved.
I mean, I know the police got their job to do. They can't be everywhere. But these parents need to do something about their children. They are unruly and they're not disciplined. And it goes on all the time.
Concerned neighbors and the Evan McFalls family say they don't want another tragedy like this to happen.
Devin Fernandez reporting. Now to that big discovery at the San Antonio International Airport. Take a look at this. The airport says TSA agents found this anti-tank gun inside a checked bag. The owner didn't declare the weapon. TSA says gun owners are allowed to travel with unloaded and locked weapons inside of a hard-sided container, but the weapons have got to be declared at security. New concerns this morning about car recall notices. In 8 minutes, why your car could be under a recall, you might not even know about it. But first, the Salvation Army is fighting food insecurity in Bell County, and we're live with how you can lend a helping hand to those in need. Been a weird month around here in Central Texas this January. Last couple of Januaries, we were dealing with that ice and snow, right? What a contrast.
Yeah, a big contrast, but you know, that's how it works sometimes here. You go through those cold years, you go through those warm years, and then you have some with the in-between. This is typical for a La Nina pattern, though. We are typically warmer than normal, and that is what is happening with this situation that is moving through right now. Let's go ahead and show you the records, or at least what's being transpired this month. And that is, this first part of this month has been the hottest, the fourth hottest rather, on record. And if you calculate this all the way out through the whole 30 days, and remember, we have 15 days left, so it is going to change a lot. The entire month has been the hottest so far on record here in Central Texas. So we're talking about a much warmer than normal January here, and it's going to continue today as we are expecting to potentially break another record high here in Central Texas. 51 degrees out there right now, 49 Waco, 49 Temple, and a few lower 60s in Killeen. Our record today is 79. That was set back in the 1900s. We have a high of 80 on the way for today, so get ready for another one to fall. 50 degrees at 8 o'clock, 64 at 10 o'clock, 74 at noon, and by this afternoon, yes, we will be touching 80. Now, the south winds will continue out ahead of this, so a warm, muggy day on the way for today. It may dry out in the afternoon as we get a little bit of a southwesterly component to the wind. Overnight, we'll actually see moisture increase. We'll see a couple of showers out there, maybe some rumbles of thunder as a weak Pacific cold front moves through. That won't bring a huge cool down, though. We'll still be well above normal as we get into the mid-70s tomorrow, and then we'll get a little bit of a northwesterly shift. We'll bring some slightly cooler air, though it stays above normal heading into Thursday as well. I do have some changes coming in the pattern as we get into next week. It looks like temperatures will be hovering around that normal state. Temperatures in the 50s, overnight lows back down in the 30s. So there may be a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel as far as typical January weather is concerned.
All right, thank you, Josh. Happening today, the Salvation Army of Bell County is distributing food to the less fortunate. They do it every month, but volunteers need your help to keep the program running smooth. And 25 News reporter Nakia Simons live in Killeen with how you can help. Good morning, Nakia.
Good morning, Joey. That is correct. Right behind me is where cars will begin to line up to receive food from the Salvation Army of Bell County. Like you said, there is currently food insecurity happening here in our communities, and the community need help. And especially in this area in downtown Killeen, there are areas that are food deserts. Food deserts are areas that are limited to access to nutritious food with no local grocery stores nearby for residents. In North Killeen, residents have been without a grocery store since 2019. Many of them have to travel as far as 20 minutes to get to the nearest grocery store. The Salvation Army of Bell County is working to fill this need, but they need all the help they can get.
We did see a rise in donations for Thanksgiving and through Christmas. We did see lots of donations of turkeys. We saw lots of fixings, that kind of thing. And it was fantastic. But now we still have a food distribution in January. And again, in February and March, we do it once a month. And because of inflation, as well as issues getting enough food from food banks, it's a kind of a struggle these days.
The Salvation Army of Bell County will have its monthly food distribution in Killeen this morning. It's happening at the Greater Killeen Community Clinic, and it begins at 9 a.m. and runs till noon or until all food is distributed. If you would like to donate any canned goods or other donations, you could visit the Bell County, the Salvation Army of Bell County, in Temple. For more information, you can visit our website at kxxv.com. Reporting in Killeen, Nakia Simon, 25 News.
Nakia, thanks. Just ahead, new concerns surrounding recall warnings about cars, the outdated rule that could cost lives, and what the government is looking to do about it. It's 6:44. You're watching Good Morning Texas. Southwest Airlines wants its customers to know what's being done now to make sure its failures over the holidays don't happen again. The airline sent customers an email saying it hired a consulting firm to look at what went wrong. From December 21st to 31st, more than 16,000 flights were canceled. Southwest says most of the luggage has been returned to the owners, but nearly all the refunds have been processed. That doesn't mean all, right? According to the airline, it'll spend more than $1 billion to upgrade its IT system. National car safety watchdogs are issuing do not buy warnings now after reports of Hyundai and Kia cars bursting into flames. And for one woman, it led to a close call on the side of a Texas roadway. Here's Jackie Callahan with the details.
It just happened so unbelievably quickly. And my door was still open actually when the car blew up.
Sunny Farley credits fellow drivers for saving her life one night last November. Her Kia SUV caught fire as she drove down a Texas highway.
One of the guys said, "Get out of the car, it's on fire, it's on fire." And he got me out of the car, and I literally jumped out of the car, ran away from it.
The I team found Kia issued an urgent recall on Sunny's 2016 Sorento for a fire-related defect in September, but the recall notice didn't go out until November 11th. Sunny's car burned up 11 days later.
And we've never seen anything in the mail or online or been alerted to anything in terms of the Kia.
She's one of multiple owners who told me they didn't get a recall notice until it was too late.
I was completely unaware until it affected me.
Christine McGuire-Wolf had just dropped off her boys when the engine in her Kia SUV caught fire with her behind the wheel.
I don't think I can accurately describe how quickly it went up. It wasn't like this smoldering fire that took some time to catch. It went up almost instantly.
In Christine's case, the recall notice for her vehicle arrived in the mail days after the fire.
I don't think that there's a sufficient effort to get that information out there.
For more than half a century, the government required automakers to notify owners of safety recalls by mail only. The 55-year-old rule has never been updated. NHTSA started work on a new rule that would require manufacturers to issue notification by electronic means in addition to notification by first-class mail, such as emails or text messages to owners regarding defects. That was in 2016. The rule still isn't finalized.
It's a significant risk, and it wasn't communicated in a significant way.
Jackie Calloway reporting. Federal regulators say they'll take feedback from the public in March. The Department of Transportation will decide whether to implement those recommendations. Gas prices are starting to go up again. AAA says the national average is now $3.30 a gallon, 2 cents higher than last week, and the state average is $2.93. It's $2.91 in McLennan County, $2.93 in Bell County. According to Gas Buddy, the cheapest spot where you could fill up today in Waco is $2.76, $2.73 for Temple, and $2.65 in Killeen. Another medication in short supply, this time it's for diabetes. The reason behind the massive spike in demand and how it's impacting those who need it the most.
And I'm tracking a warm one here across central Texas, but another cold front on the way. We'll break down that forecast coming up.
Good morning. Coming up here on GMA, we're following some breaking news. A shooting at a Martin Luther King Jr. Day event that left 8 people wounded, 1 critically. Also, we will be following that storm moving across the desert Southwest into the high plains, parts of Colorado, 6 to 12 plus inches, and then eventually parts of the Northeast, but mostly going to be rain. We are way behind on snow here. We'll do all of it coming up right here on GMA.
6:51 on your Tuesday. Good morning, folks. Let's get a check on the weather real quick here.
Yeah, good morning. A little chilly out there this morning. Temperatures in the 40s as you look at the Clark Roofing Cam in Waco. Now, clouds and radar on the live radar network showed up pretty low at this time. Do have some clouds in place where the clouds were able to clear earlier this overnight hours. That's when we do have dense fog advisory sitting across some of our southeastern counties where that fog has been able to form. Now, we'll start off in the 40s, getting back to the 80s later on this afternoon. Another warm one on the way with this warm January continuing. Now, I'm tracking a cold front, though. It's going to bring some rain chances and a cooler pattern. We'll break that down coming up.
Thanks, Josh. Now to a health alert this morning. Starting today, emergency mental health care is now free for all veterans. The VA is making the change to help prevent veterans from taking their own lives. Recent estimates show 17 veterans die by suicide every day. This new policy also will reimburse veterans who turn to mental health clinics. Millions of diabetics who rely on the drug Ozempic to help manage their blood sugar levels are finding that it's out of stock at pharmacies all over the country because of one side effect, weight loss. Doctors say they're being bombarded now by people who want to get their hands on it. That drug, though, comes with some big risks. Alyssa Betancourt explains.
This is the drug that everybody is after. It's called Ozempic, and it's a medication made for people with type 2 diabetes, but now a whole lot of people are using it to lose weight. The drug has actually become so popular that the FDA has now listed it as a medication that's in shortage on their website. Now, diabetics are having a really hard time getting the prescriptions that they need, but the big question is, what is all the hype about? Well, the medication regulates your blood sugar, and it also targets an area in the brain that sends the signal of feeling full or not. Some people have reported losing 15% of their body weight while using it, but the catch is it has to be taken indefinitely. If someone suddenly decides that they want to get off of it, they can potentially regain the weight that they've already lost and a whole lot more. A nurse that we spoke with says the phone at her office has not stopped ringing with people trying to get their hands on it.
I've had calls to the clinic, actually people from out of state who are like, hey, do you have this available? We can't find it in the state. Can we come there and get it? That sort of thing. So yeah, there are people definitely looking for it and can't find it.
Now, I do want to make it very clear, this is not an inexpensive weight loss option. A drug like Ozempic will run you about $1,500 with insurance. Without insurance, it's a whole lot more. Reporting in Las Vegas, Alyssa Betancourt, Scripps News.
6:54 now. These are the top stories we're following. Nuclear energy watchdogs say that they'll keep a presence at nuclear facilities in Ukraine. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency says they will continue to monitor safety and security. It should be in place in a few days. President Joe Biden is set to meet the Prime Minister of the Netherlands today. The two leaders are expected to discuss the war in Ukraine and possible trade restrictions against China. Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick will be sworn in today on the steps of the state capitol. Two leaders will take the oath of office at 11 a.m. PBS says there will be an FAA temporary flight restriction in place around the Capitol building for a half-mile radius during that ceremony. Much more coming up on 25 News, midday at 11 on that. Meantime, let's get a check on the weather before we let you go today.
Yeah, a beautiful sunrise showing up on the Clark Roofing Cam in Killeen this morning, Joey. Look at the oranges, the blues that are coming in to our east. Temperatures in the 40s. It is a little chilly as you're walking out the door, but I tell you what, wear those short sleeve shirts underneath your jackets this morning because it is going to end up warm. Temperatures in the mid 70s by noon, lower 80s this afternoon, and that should break our record of 79 that was set back in the 1900s. Now we are going to be talking about that warmer pattern continuing today, but I do have a cold front arriving overnight. Ahead of it, we'll have the cloud cover build, a couple of showers that are going to build in as well. We'll call for about a 40% chance of rain. Could see some rumbles of thunder at times during that morning commute. Then westerly winds take in behind that front. It is a Pacific front, so we don't get a big cool down from it. 70s on the way for tomorrow, and then as those winds shift northwest, that's when some cooler air will roll in by Thursday. In fact, Thursday could see highs back in the low 60s, close to where we should be this time of year. Another cold front comes in this weekend, and next week looks to be more January-like with highs in the 50s next week.
How about that? All right, that's it for us this morning. We're back at 11. Have a nice day.